Bam. I greet you in the words of Assalamu alaikum, which means peace and blessings be upon you. And hey, I got to mention both Jesus and Muhammad's names. Peace be upon them, both of you. Looking at the Underground Railroad. We come on every Saturday night at 10:30 p.m. So after you get through looking at Fox and CNN and ABC, Day News, get the real news on Underground Railroad television show at 10:30. And you know what? It's hot to the people that are looking at this in Chicago and in cyberspace. Okay, so today we're gonna basically focus in on Chicago. We may deviate, but that's what the main focus is gonna be. And I have my main man here. Don't think nothing funny. I mean, my guy right here, Ace, because I know it's a lot of strange people out there.
Yes.
I'm Magari, and I'm saying it wrong.
Abanagari.
Okay.
Abanagari Duga.
Okay, and he's teaching me, and
Swahili.
Swahili.
Yeah.
And I want to say, Ace, thanks for being part of the Underground Railroad television show. I appreciate that. Yeah. You definitely may express yourself the way you want to learn more about the behind the scenes, and thank you. Okay,
Thank you for having me.
Tell the people something about yourself and about the show before we get into the conversation.
Okay, well, I'll try and capsulize basically exactly where I am coming today. First of all, let me say this. In my lifetime, anybody who might know me or be familiar with me will know for a fact that I've worn a lot of hats in my life. Mm-hmm. I've worn a lot of hats. I've done a lot of things. Businessman, not only that, I was one of those boys. I was one of them boys back in the days and whatnot who kind of brought it. Let me put it another way. Some people refer to me. I was a bad boy, but I ended up becoming a good man. Mm. So on the heels of that, I went on and got myself a formal education and whatnot, and eventually I moved.
Where, Columbia School of Broadcasting, right?
No, I went to Columbia College.
Okay.
Brother. It was not a Columbia.
Okay.
I went to Columbia College undergrad, and then I did my graduate studies over at U of I. But the fact of the matter is, I still would like it to be known that I'm still one of those boys. I'm still one of those off the corner boys who just kind of got away from the corner, so to speak. Now, since that particular time, I have become a playwright. One of my pages. One of my stage plays has been on stage and whatnot, was about to go on tour, and I got several other stage plays that are in the works right now, along with the fact that I've created my own organization called the Worldwide Africans Network, which we're in the process of doing some big things with.
I'm looking forward to being a guest one day. But go ahead, brother.
By all means. So I come from kind of what they could call a colored background, checkered background.
Okay. You know what, brother Ace, for the people that's looking at this television show on the internet,
yes,
or on television, which I can't go Facebook Live yet, which I'm irritated about that. But we talk about Chicago.
Yes.
There is corruption in Chicago, man. I mean, Mel Reynolds, Jesse Jackson, Blagojevich. I can't say Gus Savage because the Jew Anti-Defamation League attacked him, but Minister Farrakhan came to his defense. What do you think about the corruption that is going on in politics in terms of them being able to vote themselves a raise anytime they want to, but they don't want to give people higher wages? They payoffs. What happened to Blagojevich? What do you think about that, man? Well, Chicago could be a very corrupt place in Illinois.
Absolutely. And first of all, they don't call it Crook County for nothing. Okay? And the fact of the matter is that the state of Illinois has had more people sent to prison than from out of its political coffers than anywhere else. The governors here, they got multiple governors that have been sent to prison over the years and whatnot. And not to mention all the people involved in the political positions that they've held here in this city. So more of them have been sent to prison or brought up on charges, I should say, more so than any other state in the country for that matter. And it's because of that it's taken on this derogatory or this underlying name of Crook County. But the thing that I'd like to mention and highlight is the fact that a lot of the corruption that you talked about, it's not something that was instituted by us as a collective, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
We are basically the reactors, the sub-beneficiaries, the sub-contributors, and this is not something that we instituted and has actually become a part of our initial policy. I think that this is just something that we have become respondents to, and some of us fall victim to it. But we're no less guiltier than any of these other multitudes of people who have been participating in the same kind of anti-social behavior in the first place.
Okay. You know, when we look at corruption in politics, then I'm gonna get to the police department. Do you think that Governor Blagojevich was unfairly put in jail for saying that he was going to do something, but he didn't actually do it? And then, do you think Michael Madigan, which is the Speaker of the House, has something to do with that?
From my understanding, I believe that there was some personality conflicts involved in that particular issue. But one thing that becomes glaringly true to me is the fact that I do believe that in Vador, his case, he was over-sentenced compared to some of the sentences that other people have received for committing some of the same type of offenses and whatnot across this country. And I think that he was, for whatever reason, he was somewhat over-sentenced and over-punished, if you will.
So you think it would be? Do you think that it would be just that President Trump, which he's contemplating, giving a former mayor of Chicago, Illinois, I'm talking about Chicago, Illinois, a pardon to exonerate himself?
Well, you mean, are you asking me whether or not I think he's entitled, or he should?
Do you think President Trump should do that? Because he's contemplating that right now.
Yeah, well, like I said before, the only factor that stands out in my mind is the fact that he was a bit more over-sentenced than other people were sentenced who were convicted of some of the same offenses. And in his particular case, it just stands out that, it sounds as if someone made an exception of him. And it also sounds somewhat personal, politically personal to me, that he was sentenced to the extent that.
So it'd be a good thing if Donald Trump did that. Okay.
Well, I think that most people. I mean, but you know what? I believe that across the board, if you're gonna reconsider his sentences, then you should take that across the board and reconsider the punishment and the draconian sentences that a lot of other people.
Now, draconian. Now, you in a different audience, and my audience, like me, I don't even know what draconian means.
Well, draconian basically means that something is like overly severe.
Okay.
It's overly severe, that a person is over punished, and it's not only that. It has to do with it's kind of antiquated. It's an antiquated practice, so to speak, and whatnot. So.
People that's watching Underground Railroad, when he come with a big word that I don't understand, y'all probably don't understand either. But I'm gonna ask him to explain it.
I don't think that you should underestimate the intelligence of your audience. I really don't. I think that there are a lot of people.
I think you just insulted me.
I just think there are a lot of people who are just as learned, who are just as much seekers of wisdom and truth as I am, and as you are.
Yes, sir.
So I'm not going to dummy down to accommodate anybody.
But I'm going to ask you to explain. But you know what? I am going certain words I don't understand. So somebody in my audience don't understand. I am going to ask you to break it down, like we break down a fraction. Yeah. Break it down to the least common force.
Yeah, well, I told you earlier that you were an iconoclast and didn't even know it.
I don't even know what that is.
We talked about the word iconoclast, which basically meant somebody who was an attacker of cherished or established beliefs, and you do it for fun, almost like the devil's advocate. Mm-hmm. And from what I know about you, brother, it seems that you enjoy being an iconoclast of sorts and having kind of an iconoclastic personality or viewpoint about it, which I don't mind. So you can be the devil's advocate, and we can go from there. But but to answer your question as to whether or not this man is deserving of a time cut or a leniency, or whether he's deserving of it. Personally, I feel like he's done enough time. I mean, under the circumstances of which he was sentenced. To answer your question. Okay.
Now, I want to ask you something about the corruption on the Chicago Police Department, the CPD. I may be saying it wrong. I want to ask you something.
Sure.
Why is it?
Why
is it that when an average citizen dies, there's no remorse, but when a police officer, a law enforcement person gets killed, we have seen the mayor cry on television, and we have seen the superintendent of the police department cry a wail on television, but when the average citizen gets killed, they don't show the same love. But if a police gets killed, they're going to spend all their resources to. Why? Why? And we pay them. We pay them.
You mean why the?
Why is it they cry and they wail and say we're going to find him? Which I'm not talking about police officers, but why don't they give the same urgency and care towards the average citizen when they get our taxpayers' money? I'm asking.
Well, first of all, you kind of have to understand something about the origin and the history of the police department in and of itself. First of all, if you look at the police department as a whole, especially now in this country and across the country and whatnot, you'll find that there's a lot of good cops, but there's also a lot of very bad cops. Okay, a lot of bad. When I say bad, I don't mean that they're just evil, mean-spirited, malicious people, but there are a lot of cops who just have bad intentions, who have bad viewpoints, and people who have been misinformed and programmed and indoctrinated to kind of see certain people.
I want to follow up with something
in a certain light. So now, when you start talking about tragedies that befall cops in this city or in this state and whatnot, and I think that it is incumbent upon other cops to show that particular kind of concern or emotion about it, because they're all in the same club, so to speak. So, that could easily have been one of them. So, had they not shown any kind of emotional concern along those lines, they realized that the same thing could have happened to them, and they wouldn't have wanted anybody to take a stolid or unemotional.
Oh, they show the same love towards the average citizen when it gets killed. I'm saying because we're paying them, man.
Are we living in a police state? Would you say?
Yes, we are.
You would say,
almost.
That's a very dangerous statement to make. But
it's all right. I know about the Patriots Act.
Yeah, but do you know how?
Now he's doing it. Go ahead.
Well, do you know how the police got started in the first place?
What happened is the slaves got away, and they said we're going to make a paddy wagon and we're going to catch them.
Yeah, absolutely. They were called paddy rollers.
Okay.
In the beginning, and there was a reason why they were called paddy rollers. These were the people that were sent out who enjoyed going out to capture the absconding or runaway slaves and whatnot, this, that, and the other, runaway African slaves, I would like to put. And they enjoyed that, and for some reason, they had a tendency to hire a lot of Irish people. Irish were just coming over, immigrating over to this country from Europe.
Mayor Daley.
And they were kind of looked down upon, so to speak. They were looked upon as being the white niggers of Europe, so to speak, the Irish were. So when they came here, they caught hell. But somehow or another, as they began to rise up the ladder socially, economically, and whatnot, they were allowed to be put in charge of the policing departments in areas. They started out as slave catchers and this, that, and the other. And if you look around the city, most of your cops seem to be of an Irish ethnic background. And a lot of them bring to the table a lot of their biases, their traditional biases that they've had all along toward people of color.
And I asked you something, but you made a profound statement. You said that they're good cops. Let me ask you a question. If you are a good cop, how is it? Would you classify this as good if you knew that your partner was collecting money from a drug house and you didn't say anything about it? There's corruption. There is a code of silence on the police department. So is an officer good if he subjects himself and submits to the code of silence? Is he good?
Well, to answer your question,
I'm saying code of silence means is
the blue code.
Blue code.
Yeah.
If I know he's doing something and I don't say anything, to me, you're just as evil. I can tell you where drug houses operating there right now, and the policemen, are they good?
Well, I don't. First of all, that becomes a matter or a question of ethics.
Okay.
Depends on what kind of ethics you have. But when I say good cops, I basically am referring to those people who just see it as a job, as a means to an end. And for some reason, it's easier to get a job or employment in this society as on that particular side of the field more so than anywhere else. I mean, you can be a security guard, cops. They even let ex-convicts and everybody. Anybody can become.
Are they good?
Well, like I said before, it becomes a matter of ethics, and with the ones that I consider good are the ones who just see it as being a job. Now, the ones who take this particular position and they manipulate and they use it for their own purposes to express their own means, their own feelings, biased feelings toward people and whatnot, that's a whole nother animal, brother. And there are a lot of them that do that. You know,
Okay.
and some people just see it as a job. They approach it and they deal with it as simply being a means to an end, a means of income and employment for themselves and their family. And those are the ones that I feel like are good cops, and they're well-meaning.
I would say that there's very few.
I'm in agreement with
And I would say first of all, I'm acting like I'm doing the interview. It's okay. But you know what? I would say the majority of them, they work inside the precinct. Not the ones inside of the police precinct department.
But indoors.
Yes.
Oh, the higher ups, the hierarchy.
And the lower ranks.
Yeah, well, the lower ranks are not shot callers. You know what I'm saying? They're not shot callers at all. They basically are people who have been trained almost like robotic automatrons to see things a certain way and give a certain reaction. And if something happens that's not within that area of which they've been robotically trained to deal with their encounter, they don't know what to do.
Okay.
Like encountering someone who knows the law.
I mean,
you know?
you know, as we talk about that, man, there are unsolved murders that are going on in Chicago, and I would like for you to explain to me and the audience, how in the hell is it that May Emanuel's son or daughter could get killed, Obama's daughter could get killed, Mayor Lightfoot's daughter could get killed, and they would find the person. They would use all their resources, but the average citizen, there's so many damn unsolved murders, they wouldn't get the same urgency. Why?